where he was sick for so long that once we got him, when we got him healthy, he kind of became a puppy again, right? But he is just, the difference between him and, a purebred dog that we've had since a puppy is that he appreciates everything we do for him. He gets a new toy, he shows it to everybody. He will not go more than 2 feet away from us, no matter where we're at. We go to Shuby Park, still he has to see us at all times. He feels like home now, and he's just so loyal because of that, because he knows how bad it can be.
Not everybody wants a purebred dog with a well-known lineage and kennel club papers. Not everyone wants a puppy. Many people prefer to find that new family member through a rescue or the adoption of an older dog. Today on NSK9, we explore the joy, the satisfaction, and the challenges of taking in a canine who might be a bit older and has a bit of life experience. Often when we hear the term rescue, we think an animal that's been abused or
damaged goods.
Damaged goods,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about Dylan's situation.
So Dylan's situation was a little different. He was sick for the 9 months that he was in the crate for. So when we first got him, he had no muscle mass. He had a lot of fur that was missing in his chest and his face. Dylan was about 1.5 years when we got him.
Okay.
Yep. And
so had been with another family before that, you think?
Yes, he had been with another family. I think they'd only had him up until he was about 5 months old, and then they decided to bring him to the kill shelter then. We're assuming it was his vet bills, because we did have to get him vetted quite a bit. We had to do a lot of experiments with different foods and everything like that. So it was an expensive experiment to get him healthy again, but it was definitely worth it. And I think that, certain families, they get a puppy, they think everything's gonna go great, and it doesn't. So, it could have been a financial situation as well.
Dylan is a rescue. He came to Jade through Home to Stay, which is named as a reference to their mission of finding permanent homes for dogs who have often faced horrible situations.
So her name is Cricket. She was found about 20 months ago in a ditch outside Montreal by police.
Wow.
Her body was shutting down. She weighed less than half what she weighs now and was pretty well bald. She'd had a lot of puppies, you could tell that, and no doubt she was a useless breeder. This is Miss Minnie, also known as Miss Minnie Mouse, and she was found on a major Quebec highway 3 years ago in August. People happened to miraculously see her running down the side of the highway.
Well, for a lot of them, it's nothing to do with the dog. It's just the position that they found themselves in life. A home that maybe just didn't have the right skill set for that specific dog. I mean, because all of these dogs, as you've probably noticed already, they all have their own personalities. And so just like people, they bond with certain people or certain environments better than others.
Some dogs end up in rescue almost by virtue of their breed, but that doesn't have to be limiting. In fact, it opens a world of possibilities. I think these breeds tend to end up in rescues more often.
Yes, they do.
And it can be an intimidating breed to have.
Oh,
sometimes.
100%, yeah.
So how do you respond to that?
It's hard. It almost hurts my feelings sometimes when people are, when they're scared of him or anything like that. If you just give people a second, they realize that how gentle he is. And it's funny because when we go to Shuby Park, he's actually a little scared of smaller dogs. So he'll either jump over them or he'll avoid them at all costs. So we don't get it so much from the little dog people, but Yeah, people are pretty good, but he is very muscular looking and he's all black. And so he is a little intimidating looking, but he is, yeah, once people meet him for a couple of seconds, they get over that very quickly.
People are under the impression that rescues are damaged or rescues are mutts. But we've had so many purebreds, which we treat no differently than all of our dogs. Doesn't matter if they have a pedigree or a piece of paper that says they're a purebred, every dog is treated exactly the same.
There are a lot of rescues out there, and many sad stories. But when searching for a reputable rescue organization, there are things to look for.
If you're looking at a rescue and their turnover is 50 dogs in, and within a week there's 35 rehomed already, I don't think that anybody's taking enough time and care with any of the dogs. We only take in what we can handle, even though there's so many out there.
If the contract doesn't state that the dog has to go back to that rescue, that the rescue is there for the life of the dog should you have any questions or concerns. Those are things that reputable rescues do, just because once these dogs come in to home to stay, they're home to stay dogs.
We allow the potential adopters to have the dogs in their home for at least a week so that they can see the personality of the dog, not just the looks.
We would never finalize an adoption before that time because it's important to make sure the match is right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And quite often it goes a lot longer. We want to make sure everything is absolutely right for the dog, because that's the focus, finding the right people for each dog.
Every dog that we place it's going to do one of two things. It's either going to go out there and be the best ambassador that it can be for rescue dogs, because people are going to say, wow, that's a really nice dog. Where did you get it from? Oh, it's a rescue. I'm going to get another rescue just like that. Or your dog can go out there from certain rescues and could be the cause of someone to say, I'm never going to adopt another rescue dog again. And that's how you tend to get people going to backyard breeders, because they've had a bad experience and they just wipe their hands of rescue entirely.
He still recognizes Gail. Anywhere we go, we call her the guardian angel, because every dog will recognize her and still have that. He has a completely different response to Gail than he has to everybody else, and it's almost embarrassing. But yeah, so that's how we got with Home to Stay, and they were just so accommodating with everything. They let me go to the foster house and take him for walks beforehand, take him for car rides beforehand, just to make sure that he was comfortable with us. And they definitely talked to quite a few people, our vet and everything like that, to make sure that we were the right family, which I really appreciate with them too, because they're thinking more about the dogs.
There are DNA or genetic testing now that can be done to see what's actually in your dog. And it's fairly accurate. I did it on one of my own rescue dogs just for fun. And it was interesting to see what breeds actually came out on that.
Homeward Bound City Pound, this is Ellie speaking. Oh, hey. So this is our first hallway. All of the dogs get placed in their own little room when they first come in. And then they complain about it.
Yeah.
They haven't really...
Any dog would really enjoy being in.
Sometimes they love it.
Really?
Yeah, well, you just know that they came from a worse place.
Not every rescue comes from out of town or from a dedicated rescue organization. The local shelter is also a responsible place to adopt a dog. In HRM, Homeward Bound's shelter takes in dogs found or seized by municipal bylaw officers, and they come from a wide range of situations. Homeward Bound has provided some government funding to deliver some services, but they also rely on fundraising to help treat dogs, provide services, and work to place dogs who can't find or go back to their owners with new loving families.
We get all kinds of animals that arrive here, different temperaments. They make good matches with different types of families. Sometimes a dog can't go to a home that has other animals because of its temperament, or perhaps it's not as well suited for a home with a lot of small children. So we do those assessments first before we even start the adoption program. And people have gotten to know us over the years and know where we are, so they can fill out an application at any time, whether they want to just come in off the street and fill out the paperwork or go online and fill out an application. And the staff here will, check the odd reference, see what kind of owner, what kind of experience they have, what might suit them better. And then the match is made.
So this is Leaf.
Oh, he's so sweet.
We don't get puppies very often. He was actually hit by a car when he first came in. So he had a hard healing process. And while he was at the hospital, they took x-rays and fixed him up, but they found that there was something else in his stomach, some sort of metal product. And it's just, he's gonna require a little bit more checkup and make sure everything's okay. He's one of the cases, sometimes we do get owners who reach out and they're ready to take their dog home, but they don't really understand what's involved. And I had a really good sit down with Leaf's owners and explain to him, here his medical conditions. These are the type of things that he's gonna need in terms of follow-up. And he's gonna have to have that stomach thing sorted out so that he doesn't get sicker moving forward. And you start having really honest conversations about quality of life with people and what they were prepared for when they first got a puppy and how much can they actually afford. Some people are confronted with the reality that they just weren't prepared to have a new pet. So his owners actually come to terms with that and figured we could find him a better home.
I guess that's part of it sometimes, isn't it? That people, it's not always coming from a bad situation. It's that sometimes it's just that people can't afford the medical or their situations that life has changed and they don't know what to do with the dog.
I have a lot of love to give. And most people, when they come into rescue, we hear that a lot. I have so much love to give. They've been a very loved animal. But they don't always think through the expenses and the commitment, the responsibility of having that animal. So when something does go a bit south and they're faced with those circumstances, they realize, oh, I didn't think this through. I wasn't quite prepared. Can you help me figure this out? I just want the dog to be happy and healthy. So then we're here to provide that support if the time comes. But most of the dogs that we get, they tend to be, I would probably say, either seniors or around 2 years of age, 1 or 2, where the dogs start getting super big and strong. People don't realize when they're little that they have to get all that training in before it gets tough. And then they realize a year or 2 in that they really can't handle that dog.
Whether seized or found abandoned by animal control officers, the staff and volunteers at Homeward Bound work hard with dogs and other animals to ensure they are healthy. And just as important, they work to ensure they're socialized, to try and help them overcome fears that come from a life staff can only imagine.
And around lunchtime, we have a big play session with them. So they come out and we bring toys. We help them socialize with our students and volunteers and play around and get a bit of that energy out. Most of our dogs...
It must be hard sitting in the kennel all day.
Yeah, and they're watching us go around and they just want to play. A dog this young, he just wants to be around people. But most of the time, they can't actually go out for walks until they're done their vetting. So when they first come in, while they're in their hold period, we still take very good care of the animals and we interact with them, but they're just not allowed outdoors. So then this is where they come out to get their energy and hang out with us before they can start going out with the volunteers around the block and to the park and everything. All right. What do you think? Sometimes you walk by a dog and they're so stiff, locked jaws, they're really unsure about who you are. And all we have to do is walk back and forth a few times, slip a treat under the door, and you can see their body language just soft, and they're much more welcoming to touch and to see who you are.
So how hard is it? Some dogs come from bad situations and they're ultimately going to get adopted. Do you see that change in the dogs in terms of how they feel?
Yeah, for sure. You really get to see how tense they are and apprehensive of meeting strangers at first. You know that they haven't been overly socialized, they're not sure. Sometimes we're introducing them to new dogs, and we can see them learning to interact with other dogs before they go on.
Homeward Bound tries to make the environment for dogs as loving as possible. But as with any rescue situation, trying to learn a dog's true personality and match it with the right family is never easy.
We've had dogs who were absolutely petrified of life. We've had ones where we couldn't even get them out to pee. We would have to go pick them up and carry them out because they were just so frozen. And throughout weeks of working with them and getting them used to a certain handler and then introducing another handler, they would start coming out with us. But even then, by the time that they're home, you could see the completely different dog. You would learn that they're very different outside, that they're much more outside of their shell, and you don't have to carry them around anymore.
I mean, medical is pretty easy. You know, they need to be spayed and neutered. You need to check them out. Sometimes they have serious medical issues. But getting that, determining what kind of dog this is going to be, because they have a lot going against them when they arrive. And sometimes they aren't themselves. They're scared, they're hungry. You know, they've probably been through a lot. We don't know. So the behavior we see at the very beginning may not actually be the true behavior of the animal, say 2 weeks in. Shelter life is a hard life for an animal. It's stressful for them. So sometimes we see them go downhill when they're here. So that's why it's important to get them assessed and get all their medical care taken care of and get them into a good home as quickly as possible.
Barking is a form of communication. It goes along with growling and whining. It's used for disciplining the young. It's used for telling you when an intruder is coming. It's a way of them telling that they have fear or aggression to keep somebody away. The other part of barking is them wanting something, not telling you something, but wanting something. They want food, they want attention, they want something. That kind of barking can become a problem. That's your problem barking that people always complain about. Typically, your other barking is just 1 or 2 barks or a couple. As soon as the threat's gone, they stop barking.
I know a lot of people walk in and say, I fall in love with that dog. But let's get real. There's a lot to learn about that dog. Research it. Figure out not only about the breed, but what it means to be a responsible pet owner and all that goes with it. Really think about it. On our website, we have a list of really good things to stop and think about and study before you leap. It's really important you realize the financial commitment alone. That can be huge because as they get older, they get more expensive sometimes because just like us, they get sore bones and all that good stuff. So, you know, it is a really big financial commitment. It's a big life commitment. You know, it's harder to travel. It's harder to be the free spirit. You need someone always around to care for that animal. So, and you need, you know, do you live in an apartment? Do you need lots of land? Do you need a fenced-in backyard? These are all important questions to think about before you just rush out and get an animal.
One alternative to rushing out to get a dog might be fostering. Organizations like Home to Stay rely on foster families to take in dogs until a permanent home is found. Not only do you help dogs in need, but also have the chance to experience many breeds and personalities.
All they have to do is provide a safe place and the love for the dog, and hopefully some training if it's needed. But we provide all the food, beds, toys, crates, everything that's needed. So it's really it's a very easy situation for them because we oftentimes come and do pickup for vetting. We require very little other than love and a space for safety.
But be warned, providing that safe space as a foster family may turn you into a foster fail. But that's not quite as bad as it sounds.
A lot of people who foster children become foster fails. They adopt their children. My cousin recently adopted one of her foster children. And in rescue, that is very, very common.
Foster fail sounds like such a negative term, but it's not really, is it?
No. I mean, not,
It's a bit of a joke.
not for the dog and not for the people, because the fewer changes in their life, the better it's going to be for them. So if they end up staying with the foster, they don't have to go to another home and start all over again.
How many have you had?
I stopped at 50.
Oh, well,
I stopped at
because 50
50
is just a good number to stop.
No, it's just because I started back to work full time, so I don't have as much time.
And that's one of the reasons I've had 58 fosters. I haven't planned to have half that many, but if a foster is going on holiday or something comes up, when you pull a dog into rescue, our rule is, it keeps us honest. If you pull a dog into rescue, that's where the buck stops. And if it isn't working out with a foster home, you find another place, or the dog comes to your home.
Whether you choose to foster or adopt a rescue, bringing these dogs home may come with challenges, but it will almost certainly be rewarding.
Sometimes there's benefits because you've got usually an adult animal. You're going to know certain things about that animal right away. When you get a puppy, you're never really sure how that's all going to turn out. And here, at least you come in and you have a bit of a clear picture. But yes, a lot of them come in with issues that need to be worked upon. Maybe they never received obedience training in their entire life. So, you know, it's a big commitment. And
Can you teach an old dog new tricks?
I think you can. I think with a little bit of love and a little bit of training, you can go. You can cover a lot of ground. Yeah. And you know, a lot of these dogs will surprise you. They're beautiful, they're loving, and they're just looking for a partner to give that back to them.
We don't really know what happened to him, right? So there are little movements that we make, or, you know, if we have a Ziploc bag in our hand or whatever, he's very scared of certain little things that we would never think of had we had him from a puppy. So there are going to be some little personality traits that the dogs have that you're not really sure how they got them, but you just kind of accept them, you know, the way they come. And a lot of those personality traits go away once they get into a very loving, comfortable family.
How does it feel to rescue a dog?
Oh, it feels great. It feels amazing. Yeah, and that's all we plan on ever doing now. We will never go and, you know, go to a breeder or anything like that. It's such a good feeling, and to see them happy and comfortable is another thing too. I don't think he was very comfortable in a lot of places, and to see him, you know, just sprawled out, fully asleep, good, not a care to the world is, it's a great feeling.
It's just about dogs, about how special they are for me. I think that so many of them are given a terrible life. Some of them are just with people who aren't right for them. And that's one thing we do in rescue, we match make.
It's the other people's loss for sure, because he's such a fantastic dog. And I think that a lot of people who do rescue realize that, you know, yeah, you give them a second chance and they can be the best dog they possibly can be.
Visit us online to tell us your dog stories for possible inclusion in future episodes. And don't forget to share photos of your canine friends on social media with the hashtag NSK9.
Dogs just love to love people. They love to love people. And he was so starving for affection and everything. It's just to be able to give a dog a new life that I'm sure he had given up faith in that cage, being there for that long. And then all of a sudden he's just surrounded by people who love him. And I mean, we are so blessed as well with him too. Like, he is our soul dog that we always say he's our soulmate puppy. He has our personalities exactly.
Dogs and exercise go hand in hand for many people. Next time on NSK9, we're talking to people who run with their dogs and even race with their dogs.
Running has been the most important part of my life for 30 years. So yes, it's pretty significant. And I had a bulldog, and people would always say, why do you have a dog that you can't run with? And it never occurred to me to have a dog to run with. And then I got Swanee, and I love it because I love dogs and I love running, and now suddenly I can do both at the same time, though I love running far more than Swanee does.